All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, when Danny Ainge joined the front office for the Utah Jazz, you knew that the organization was going to be in for some changes. Over the summer, longtime Jazz head coach Quinn Snyder stepped down. We saw guard Donovan Mitchell traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then we also saw all star big man Rudy Gobert being dealt to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And in losing Snyder, Mitchell, and Gobert, the Jazz were expected to be an afterthought in the Western Conference this NBA season. But this is why you play the game. Now, after about a month of this NBA season, it's the Jazz that are setting the pace in the West with their 10-3 record. You look at how this team has responded to first year head coach Will Hardy. He's made a name for himself around the NBA, first as a Spurs assistant, and then most recently with the Boston Celtics. Of course, Danny Ainge came over from the Celtics. And now, you know what? These two are part of the reason why the Jazz have started off so strong. But you look at how this team, for the most part, has been assembled. They made the trade, the Jazz did, with Cleveland, and sent, of course, Donovan Mitchell was the big part of that trade. But you know what? At the end of the day, Utah came out of this smelling like a rose. You get back a player like Laurie Markkinen, and Laurie Markkinen has always been able to play. He's always contributed at every spot of his NBA journey, and now he is getting a big opportunity to show what he can do. You're talking about a guy so far this season that is dropping in nearly 23 points and 9 rebounds each night. Another player that Utah got back in the Donovan Mitchell trade is Colin Sexton. And Colin Sexton was a solid scorer in Cleveland. Now you bring him into Utah and you have him coming off of the bench and he's dropping almost 14 points a game. Then you look at Kelly Olynyk, somebody that Danny Ainge once upon a time drafted with the Boston Celtics. He was a part of a trade this summer where Utah acquired him from the Detroit Pistons for Bojan Bogdanovic. You think about the holdovers on this team, such as Jordan Clarkson and Mike Conley Jr., just name a few. And when you bring all of that together, you have guys that have bought in, they're playing together, they are a very cohesive unit. And this is why they are winning the amount of games that they're currently winning. Let's not forget, Danny Ainge also got multiple first round picks from both the Cavs and the Timberwolves. And if that sounds familiar, you go back about a decade when Ainge was running the front office for the Celtics, made that big deal with the Brooklyn Nets, got multiple first round picks. Two of those picks turned out to be Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. You never know what can happen because obviously the Timberwolves are expected to be a playoff team. The same thing could be said for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But who knows what those picks are going to turn out to be for the Utah Jazz in the coming years. Somebody else who really flew under the radar. I talked about it when the Jazz initially made the trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that was Walker Kessler, because this is a guy that Minnesota drafted this past summer in the NBA draft in the first round. And if you look at Walker Kessler so far, to me, I thought this was a steal. In regards to where he fell in the draft, and then also in Utah's ability to get him back in the Rudy Gobert deal. Right now, Kessler's averaging more than 6 points and 5 rebounds and more than a block and a half as a rookie. And I say that because you have to part, or you did part with a guy like Rudy Gobert, one of the better big men interior as far as interior defense goes in the NBA. And honestly, I think that eventually the Jazz can get Walker Kessler to that point because he came to the NBA as the SEC's Defensive Player of the Year. And you think about what he meant for that Auburn team last year, averaging more than 4.5 blocks per contest. Now, it's going to take a little time for him to really fully get up to speed in the NBA at least. But make no mistake about it, I think he is going to be a viable player for the years to come in the NBA as an interior defender. And it's, at the end of the day, kudos to Danny Ainge and the rest of this Utah front office for getting him back in that Rudy Gobert deal. And for the Jazz, they continue to rely on a system because when you're a small market team like the Jazz are, you can't just go out there and, really woo uh big time free agents to come play for you. You have to rely on your system. You have to learn how to develop players. And obviously, Danny Ainge wanted to go in a different direction with this team. A lot of people, myself included, were ready to write the Jazz off. But hey, you know what? He got a lot of skilled players back in return. And he also got a head coach that knows how to bring all of these respective talents together. You look at Utah and what they're doing so far this season. Coming into play today, the Jazz are leading the NBA in points per game as a team. They're sixth in assists. They're also tied for fourth in steals, and then they're first in opponent's field goal percentage from beyond the 3-point line. They are allowing the fewest three pointers per game, basically. So you look at this team, you look at this organization. Like I said, I was wrong. And I think the Jazz are going to keep this up. I wrote this team off. I said they were probably going to lose 50 games. Now you're looking at it, and with the way that the Jazz have started, and there's a big possibility that they can go out there and win 50 games. Everybody is playing for the guy next to him. And whenever you have a cohesive unit like that, they're going to be difficult to slow down. So at the end of the day, Danny Ainge was once again Danny Ainge. He proved once again that he is one of the smarter guys in the room. A lot of people, like myself, figured the Jazz were going to be a year or two away from getting back to the playoffs. But at the end of the day, the machine just continues to roll out there in Salt Lake City. The Jazz are a formidable team. They are still a force to be reckoned with in the Western Conference. And very quickly in this NBA season, they have put the rest of the league on notice. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.